Hey everyone, Dr. Roberts here. I just wanted to talk a little bit about carnivore and mental health and what it's done for me. So, struggled with mental health my entire life. Probably the best diagnosis would be bipolar type 2. So, I would mostly spend my time in depression and cyclothymia, kind of a little bit high, a little bit low. Some hypomanic episodes where you're just a little bit manic, but you're not fully manic, but mostly the crash, kind of inflamed brain, depression. Um, it's just been a lifelong thing for me. And sometimes my mood's fine, but for a lot of the time, it's just pretty low, or has been. Also, definitely had ADHD, struggle with that. I think it's just kind of the way my brain is wired. Struggle with procrastination and motivation, and getting things done, and my executive functioning can sometimes be on the low side. It could use a little help. And I haven't been medicated for these things. Maybe I've done a month of Adderall once and a month of Prozac, but I just knew I didn't want to do the pharmaceutical route. Didn't do much for me, and I just tried to steer clear of the whole thing. So, done a lot of natural things, and these things help. I definitely figured out I was a compulsive overeater in college. I figured out cutting out processed food, going more paleo did so much for me. So my health journey diet wise has definitely started a long time ago. I'm 38 now. So maybe about 20 years. It was when I first started to know that I had issues with food and that maybe gluten was an issue. I know that gluten makes me depressed. It makes my eyes itch. I definitely have a neurological effect with gluten. So let's fast forward. I cycle in and out of it. I got a lot. I grew up vegetarian, but I knew the power of eating meat in college, and I've never gone vegan or vegetarian since. I've had enough of that growing up vegetarian. Although I was a scavenger of meat as much as I could at my friend's house. So yeah, and at school. So I always knew about Weston Price pretty far back in the day. Like let's say about 10 years ago, I went really deep into Weston Price, the paleo movement, a lot of that. I knew about the ketogenic diet, but I didn't really get into that till about the last 5 years. All these things help my mental health. Um, there's an aspect of bipolar type 2 where my depressions were more on the atypical side, so I would eat a lot. It used to go with the circadian cycle of low sunlight. I would get the seasonal affective disorder. All these things were an issue for me, and so living in Hawaii now is much better. I don't get that seasonal dip that's super dark, and I don't tend to go manic when the sun comes out. So I've been pretty stable, I would say, for the last 3-4 years. Maybe a little bit of depression or dysthymia. But when I went carnivore about a year ago, I just noticed, and I wasn't eating very many. I was pretty much animal-based keto, so I wasn't. I was maybe eating like 30% fruit and veg. I just noticed that getting that last bit out has been amazing for my mood. I had that stability before, but a lot of times I would start eating fruit or rice pasta or things would come in, and my mood would tank. And so, just amazing. The stability, the cognitive clarity, my executive functioning to get things done is so much better. And my motivation to actually exercise and take care of myself better. When your mood's down, you can barely, like, I used to know when I was depressed is when it was hard for me to brush my teeth. When it's hard to brush your teeth, you know you're depressed. When it's hard to get out of sweatpants I just remember lots of days feeling like, oh, I don't want to kill myself. I just wish I wasn't here. It's just a lot of pain, a lot of emotional pain, a lot of brain inflammation. Carnivore is just, there's this subtle sense of self-confidence and motivation and ability to show up in my life that I didn't have before. The other amazing thing is I'm not self-medicating anymore. I used to use alcohol. I used to, most nights of the week for a while there, I was drinking 2 glasses, not when I was pregnant, but it was getting to the point where it was just like, okay, this is too much. And I used to self-medicate with food all the time, and I ended that addiction earlier, but it would still creep in. I wouldn't binge, but I'd eat 5 dragon fruit or